This video is brought to you by Harold Sack, who gave me a massive 1 year's worth of subscriptions on Patreon. Sidar Jabari versus Avacyn, Atress, and the Myco Tyrant. We have a 3-lander to start off with, which is unusual on Magic Online. Yeah, so that's our first 3 turns sorted out, really, is cracking the Myriad landscape. Mesmeric Orb for the Myco Tyrant triggers on our untaps. He has a sequestered stash in play as well. We mill an Urza's Incubator, which would have been nice to keep hold of, but at least draw into an Arcane Signet this turn, so we've got a play to make here. The Myco Tyrant into play on turn 3, and at the end of the turn creates a couple of fungus tokens, because they managed to descend a couple of permanents, so Sylvan Library and a Crater Hoof Behemoth. A Winding Canyons allows our opponent to play creature spells as though they had flash, uses the mana for a Chromatic Lantern, which suggests that maybe he wants to make use of his opponent's activated abilities, making mana of any colour. I don't know why a white deck would want that otherwise. Alright, so in this deck I'm going to go for... we've got 5 basic planes in the deck, so I don't feel the need to crack Mesmeric or Myriad landscape before the Mesmeric Orb resolves. We'll just see what ends up in the bin. And there you go, that's why I checked. Planes and a mana drain, and draw into a basic swamp, so I'll hold off on the Urborg for as long as I can. We'll play the swamp, hold up the Arcane Signet so that we can threaten counter magic, but also actually play the Path to Exile. I think the loose plan here is to go Kindred Discovery next turn, hope it survives, and then go Cavalier of Dawn afterwards. Argument to be made for us to go Cavalier of Dawn straight away. But are we that eager to get rid of Mesmeric Orb? We might make use of some mill if we are able to start reanimating the creatures with Sidar. Well, we've got some more untaps to make that decision anyway. A 3/3 Trample Commander, we'll see where it swings. Swings in towards us. Do we have to make use of the Path to Exile then? This gives Indestructible, so Exile and Avacyn later on might be better. I'll just take the commander damage. Now has a Jared in the graveyard, by the way, along with Ashnod's Altar. With the land, that means our opponent has descended 3 times and gets 3 fungus tokens. Baleful Strix enters and draws a card. Our opponent might miss a 3rd land by turn 4. Manages to get into a tap land. He didn't mill any lands there, so he cleared a lot of cards off the top to get into that land, luckily. Takanumar activated by the Myco Tyrant player, so discarding that allows him to mill cards. And that's Llanowar Elves, a land, and a Reclamation Sage. He returned Jared back to his hand with the land. Milled by the white player is a Secret Rendezvous, a Sun Titan ironically, and an Enduring Innocence. Yeah, he's got an Urborg in this mono white deck as well, so he's got some kind of shenanigans. I don't know. I mean, it's a mono white deck, and you're looking to steal your opponent's stuff, and you want to make sure that you've got mana of different colours. Yeah, not sure what's going on here, but he played a Realm Breaker anyway, so even further mill. See what we get out of this Mesmeric Orb. We mill an Adeline, a couple of lands including Minas Tirith, and a True Conviction. I think this only gets small. No, it's any artifact or enchantment from Graveyard's hand, so we could grab back the True Conviction or the Urza's Incubator, and we get another basic swamp, not much point in us playing Urborg with another one in play over there if we don't have to, so might as well just drop the swamp. I think I'll just go for my commander here so I can start swinging in with it, and then I can at least be reactionary with a Path to Exile or a Plumb the Forbidden if it gets removal pointed at it. Mesmeric Orb untapping more and more stuff, the more fungus we see, which means he gets even more fungus and it just snowballs from there, so it's Conduit of Worlds, Aftermath Analyst, a Tomb Fortress, Forest, Tainted Field, or Tainted Wood even, Malakir Rebirth, and a Swamp. So if he keeps his commander, he'll get plenty of fungus at the end of the turn. This is now a 6/6 commander with Trample, by the way. Plays a Dryad Arbor as his land for the turn. The commander, I had a feeling he'd do that, attacks us again. His fungus can't block, so he might as well swing in with all of them. These are going down the middle, and a couple to the right, so let's punish him and save ourselves some commander damage by pathing his creature. Might be that he has a means of hexproof or something, but we'll make him use it. Well, he does exile it, so he's already made his land for the turn. He can't afford to recast it here, thanks to Dryad Arbor having Summoning Sickness. Karga, Shadow Archdruid. When it attacks, it gains Death Touch, and you mill 2. And you can play a land or cast a permanent from amongst the milled cards. So I'm wondering between Adeline. I mean, it's always good to get Adeline down sooner than later. But this Mesmeric Orb is getting too much damage done, especially with something like this in play now. So it might be worth discarding and reanimating Cavalier of Dawn instead next turn after casting Kindred Discovery. Anyway, hey, Read the Bones, our opponent managed to get up to 3 mana thankfully and get himself another land. Realmbreaker is going to mill the player who wants to be milled, so we'll see if he can get any lands there. We see a Splinter Fright, a Yawgmoth hit the bin as well, Barlaged Recovery, and he did seem to, he stole the Tomb Fortress from previously. Seen some decent things get milled here, like the Path to Exile, Dismantling Wave, Unexplained Absence, plays himself a Minas Tirith. Okay, that's good. We get some more Mesmeric Orb triggers, and there we see Hakon, which I don't mind seeing at all. We can only play that from the graveyard. Are we going to see Graveyard Exile in the next turn cycle? I suppose as much as I'd like to get down Kindred Discovery, there's no harm in having a bunch of knights to swing in with next turn and having Kindred Discovery available to us then. Because this turn we've got 7 mana held up, meaning that we could go Hakon, get the Adeline out of the bin, and then discard and reanimate Cavalier of Dawn, blowing this thing up before it does any more damage. So I'll play an island. I think that's what we're going to have to do here. The Avacyn player is holding up priority. Hopefully leaves us alone. We'll play Adeline from the bin now that Hakon has made it into play. We're only going to have 2 of these tokens survive, but like I said, it's good for Kindred Discovery next turn if Adeline stays in play. We get even more knights to enter. Could discard the Marshal of Zalfir and reanimate the Silverwing Squadron here as well, but I'd rather just get the Cavalier of Dawn into play for free, I think. We attack in to the left. This player doesn't have reach on the Death Toucher or anything, no. So first off, we get to trigger Adeline, and we'll loot with our commander. That gets us a Rafine's Tower, so maybe should have held off on the land drop this turn. But we could just as easily have drawn into swords. Get rid of Cavalier of Dawn, ready to reanimate it when hopefully this hits our opponent. Don't see why anyone would interfere with that, but you can never predict a Magic Online player. So Adeline gets us the tokens. Oh, actually, these aren't knights, are they? Okay, so they're just human tokens. They wouldn't trigger the Kindred Discovery, but still good to get some free bodies down. Just waiting for the Golgari player to pass priority back to us here. Just 1 block being made, so doesn't want to give up on the Baleful Strix yet. We get to keep 2 of the tokens. And Sidar triggers, so we've got our choice of Silverwing Squadron or the Cavalier. We'll go for the Cavalier. And when that enters, blow up the Mesmeric Orb. And we will leave our turn at that, leaving our opponent as well with a 3/3 Golem. An Attrition now, and that can, get rid of stuff like Adeline and Cavalier. Can't get rid of our commander and Hakon at least, because they are black creatures. Can only activate it once, because he's only got 1 black mana held up for it. Also decided to play a Skull Prophet. The 4/1 goes at the mono white player, so that is going to mill 2 and gain Death Touch. All the 5/5s go there as well. The mill from the creature was a Head Shredder and a Nyx Weaver. Atress, Oracle of Half-Truths, and targets us with that, so we look at the top 3 cards, put 1 pal face down, 1 pal face up, and there's rarely a good way to do this. Well, he's not going to choose an Archon of Cruelty, so we might as well put that face down. I think he'll choose Sol Ring. Reanimate's going to be quite a good one for him. I think he has to choose Sol Ring with the lack of mana here, even if he does have to wait a turn cycle for it. Actually, in tiny text here, it should really say it in this window, but the top pile will be presented face up. So we want the Sol Ring in the top pile, don't we? Magic Online's UI is not the best, as you can all see. So the top pile presented face up. We want them to choose Sol Ring here. And we want to see Reanimate and Archon of Cruelty in the bin. And yep, he did take it, so we managed to get him to ditch Reanimate and the Archon. Realmbreaker going to mill us, which might be of some relevance as long as we can keep hold of Hakon. There is Herald of Hoofbeats, a Painful Truths and Swords to Plowshares, unfortunately not drawing into. He managed to grab our Myriad Landscape, doing this during the Dimir player's turn, so he'll untap that and be able to grab some lands if he wants to. Avacyn Angel of Hope into play for the first time. We've already made use of our Path to Exile, unfortunately. So we've got a couple of Vigilance creatures. We could do the Herald of Hoofbeats and swing in as much damage as possible over here, especially if we can get down the Anthem as well. That would push more damage through. Alright, Midnight Reaper's probably going to be a good idea as a board wipe protection of some kind. I think we're going to be tapping out this turn, so Rafine's Tower into play first, then we'll go for the 4-drop. That was a good mill with the Mesmeric Orb, getting us into the Hakon. Means that we don't have to spend as much time playing cards from our hand, we can just make use of the graveyard. Play a Midnight Reaper as well, and that means if our board gets wiped, which we're ultimately waiting on here, we'll at least draw some cards. The Golgari player is holding up priority, so could deal with our Herald of Hoofbeats, but should probably wait to see how we attack first. Although he might want to give us one fewer cards before the Midnight Reaper enters. So yeah, he's going for something now. Blows up the Adeline isn't the worst thing. Again, I think I would have foregone the one card draw I would have got, because this actually isn't going in towards him. I was going to swing it in towards Avacyn, and that's information that I would have liked as a player if I was the Golgari player. So for the sake of losing a life and drawing a card, I think I would have waited there personally. We've got chump blockers that we can hold back with the human tokens. We'll show the Golgari player that we don't have tunnel vision. Swing our 3 creatures in over there, so that is 8, 9, 10 and 11 damage. Would have been a lot more with Avacyn. So Sidar going to allow us to loot here. A Murderous Rider, probably best hold for the swift end. So we'll get rid of the Marshal. Might be that Avacyn is doing board wipe tribal, so I don't really want to allow him to go off with Avacyn for too long. We could go for reanimating this now because we've got first strike damage on our commander that I forgot about, so we deal an extra 2 points of damage. I don't think that'll really make that much difference. I'd rather just have a big dumb flyer in the air. Plus it's easy to cast these out of the bin with Hakon for just 5 mana if we want to. Now we just have to hope that the attrition doesn't damage us too much. Like I keep saying, he should have waited to do this and see where we attack first. I'm hoping he's not a reactionary player that just does it now during his turn, because that's damage that we're missing on other players, and Avacyn might start to go off over the next few turns or so. So that attrition gaining him turns effectively is not good, but tunnel vision can be a hell of a drug for some players. So we will see what he does. Decides to just pass through to his second main phase, so throws out a Cemetery Tampering, Hideaway 5. You can mill 3 cards at the end, and if there's 20 or more cards in your graveyard, you can play exile cards without paying the mana cost. He already has 20 cards in his graveyard, so we'll soon find out what this Hideaway card is. He was about to tap down 4 mana there, not leaving up his attrition. Instead decides to do what I was worried he was going to do, and blow up the Herald of Hoofbeats. So we draw a card at least, and that is Sky Hunter Strike Force. As long as you control your commander, your other creatures have melee, and we've still got 3 opponents, so we'll get the maximum buff from that. Our opponent plays the Sol Ring we kindly handed to him, and now swings in with Menace to the right, and the Baleful Strix. This smells like a board wipe, although the flyer can get straight in anyway, but that's the first time he's not held back his Death Toucher. It would have to be a board wipe that would take out Avacyn as well, so maybe Toxic Deluge. Just tap down 3 mana, and yep, there it is. Put 8 into X, so that will take out Avacyn. And this is the board wipe protection that we wanted, so we at least get to draw 5 cards there. Just drew another one previously as well. We lose even more life to Hakon going down, and Cavalier is going to give us back an enchantment, so it's probably worth grabbing back the Urza's Incubator, because we need to rebuild our entire board again. Our commander's commander tax is paid by the Urza's Incubator, but if we leave it there, it'll only cost 3 mana. So we go 3 mana for the Incubator, 3 mana for our commander, 2 mana for Hakon, and a Sky Hunter Strike Force. So let's leave our commander in the graveyard. There's a Fierce Guardianship as well, so we'll definitely try and land our commander. Patriarch's Bidding could just grab us a load of stuff straight away. The problem is it helps our opponents as well, potentially. Realmbreaker pointed at us again, and this time it's Kinsbale Cavalier, so double strike. Not seeing any mass haste at the moment, unfortunately. Steals another land from us, it's just a basic Plains. He's also got Scorched Ruins available to him as well. And then Atress taps out into Dimir's Signet. He's still fixing his mana over there, unfortunately. Everson, Angel of Hope, straight into play again, and there's still nothing we can do about that. Okay, we draw Vault of the Archangel. So how much mana do we need here? It's 3 for the Urza's Incubator, 3 for our commander, 2 for Hakon is 8. So we've got that in play now. And then we can make sure that we've got enough white for a Sky Hunter Strike Force as well. So we basically need 3 white, a blue, the rest is black mana, so that's easy. So I think playing down the Vault is fine here. Play the Incubator, and that makes the Golgari player scoop. We name Knight, making our Knights cost 2 generic less. So now we can replay Hakon from the bin, and that's just 2 mana to get that out, thanks to the discount. Play our commander as well. Just paying Esper for that, we've managed to dodge some command attacks. And then from our hand, I think, we could set up with Adeline again, I suppose. No, Adeline is 2 white, I thought it was 1 white. Midnight Reaper again, maybe? Because we can just drop this whenever. I suppose it's best to protect the cards in our graveyard before they get exiled to a Bajuka Bog or something. So I'll go for the Midnight Reaper. Managed to rebuild a semblance of a board at least a little bit, and we don't have attrition to worry about anymore. So hopefully next turn we can get down a 2 mana Herald of Hoofbeats and then a 1 mana Sky Hunter. We get less of a buff now, but maybe we'll be able to take this guy out. Anyway, discard some stuff. It can be Signing Blood. The Knight of the White Orchid, we're keeping up on lands quite nicely, strangely enough. And yeah, maybe getting rid of Urborg is fine. We do have Cabal Coffers in the list. Yeah, I'll risk getting rid of Hallowed Fountain then. I actually forgot to update this deck with 3 Tree City. This is an old deck, so should have put the new tribal land in. A Dread Return, going to reanimate something. Let's see what he's aiming for. Going for a Burning Rune Demon. So one goes into the hand, the other goes into the bin. I think we'll allow it. I'm still really worried about what Avacyn's trying to do. Might be like Armageddon or something, wipe out all the lands. I don't know if we can rely on the Dimir player to hold up counter magic. Eventually decided to throw into the bin a Mystical Tutor. So Animate Dead, I'll assume he grabbed. And he's after Archon of Cruelty there. So when it enters, target opponent sacrifices a creature. Are we going to assume that that's Avacyn? You would hope so. Midnight Reaper can be sacrificed if we need to. And yes, does correctly point the Edict to Avacyn. So dying twice in a row. Has to discard a Fabled Passage and goes down to 12 as well. He's likely going to mill us here. Yeah, with Realmbreaker. So we see a Void Rend, a land, and Sword of Hearth and Home. Not sure how many lands. When the opponent scooped here, not sure how many lands he took with him. That's the problem. I like Realmbreaker, but you can't really play it on Magic Online if you can't assume your opponents are actually going to stick the game out because they'll take all their permanents with them. Drifting Meadow is cycled with the mana from the Scorched Ruins. Oblation is going to... yeah, he's going after a permanent of his own in Realmbreaker. Simply doing this to draw 2 cards. Oblation's some old school instant speed removal in white, but you can also use it on your own tokens in order to draw a couple of cards. A Soul's Attendant, and attempt to gain some life. I doubt he'll be able to gain enough life. Just so happens to have the other Soul Sister as well, a Soul Warden. So one entering triggers the other, goes up to 13. Now if we get a Lord into play and hit with all these with Horsemanship or whatever it's called, then we should be able to get him exactly. Yeah, it's Horsemanship, so we get this down and the Marshal of Zalfir, then that should be exactly enough. This doesn't take into account the Sky Hunter either. Might have more creatures to play yet. Oh, of course, and when we play creatures, this triggers on our stuff as well, so Yeah, we'll have to make sure that the additional damage we get in is actually worth it. I mean, it's probably worth it just to get the bodies in. But best leave Adeline in the graveyard, I think. There is going to be an attack from some flyers here, we assume. Alright, a Raise the Palisade. Could make things difficult for our opponents. How much mana do we have, though? We need 2 for the Herald, and then we assume 2 for this. Let's say it's 5 in total with this, and then 10 with this. That means we've got exactly enough, but we're not holding up anything apart from Fierce Guardianship, which might be fine. So let's try that here, because if we take this player out, that's fine, but we've got to swing back from here to start contending with. And I'm assuming we have enough blue mana. And we need 2 blue and 2 white, so that should be fine as well. Or actually 3 blue. Not playing around the fact that our opponent might have some kind of interaction or Teferi's Protection. There's a myriad of things he could have, but we can't play around that, we just have to force him to use it. Obviously there's counter magic from Atress to consider as well. Could have an offer you can't refuse, which might be worth countering in order to get this through. Yep, does have the offer, so I think I will be tempted and counter that. Avacyn's still holding up priority, but I don't think he has anything. So we name Knight, bounce all the non-Knights. That means we don't have to worry about the big swingers or Soul's Attendant anymore. And now let's set up with Herald of Hoofbeats, costing just 2 mana thanks to grabbing that Urza's Incubator back previously. I mean, we don't even need to play that now, but it's good for another turn. Winding Canyons, they might still get creatures in with Flash, so we may well still need this. Okay, plays the Soul Warden again at instant speed, that's fine. They're not going to be able to block anyway. And we're making them tap their mana down, we're testing them for this spot removal, and it seems as though they don't have it. So this sort of clears the way for us. So they gain another life from Soul's Attendant entering. Then they'll gain 2 from the Herald of Hoofbeats. So we have to work out whether it's worth playing 2 creatures, an Anthem and the Sky Hunter. If we play Sky Hunter, we have to attack 2 opponents in order to get the +2/+2. I think it's still worth it. I'm not going to play around the fact that my opponent's going to gain life. So the Lord enters, gains 2 again. They're going to end up at 20 life here. Forgot about the Kinsbale Cavalier actually. Maybe it would have been worth doing that instead. Nah, whatever. We'll get down the Strike Force, taking our opponent up to 20. Now we get, if we swing everything in here, they get +1, so it's 5, 10 and 16 damage. But if we take 1 in over here, it'll be +2/+2, so that is 6 + 7. So it doesn't really make that much of a difference, I don't think. We'll just show the Dimir player that we're looking to take out Avacyn. Might be able to get some other kind of Lord effect off Sidar as well. It doesn't matter if we put melee on the stack first, I don't think. Alright, draw a land. Yeah, discard a land, I think. So we hit with the first strike. Means we've missed out on Kinsbale Cavalier. Double strike won't work now. So let's just grab the Cavalier of Dawn again. We can get rid of one of these Soul Sisters. We'll gain 2 life when it enters, but we'll blow one up regardless. They'll gain a life from the Golem entering as well. Alright, so they're up to 17 and they're about to take 10 damage, I think. Yeah, so they go down to 7. I imagine I could have played that turn a lot better, but I'm enjoying the old school battlecruiser magic here, so not to worry. Well, there's a Living Death. We don't have our sack outlet in play at the moment, so we might make use of the Patriarch's Bidding after all. Could be tactical. He's about to get his Archon back, so we could be tactical in what we sacrifice, so that we can grab it back with the Bidding straight away. We're about to draw a bunch of cards as well, and grab something back with Cavalier of Dawn. Avacyn is in the command zone, thankfully, but one of these Soul Sisters is going to come back. I think we can risk not putting our commander in the command zone if we've got Patriarch's Bidding. Our opponent has Soul Warden. The Enduring Innocence will become an enchantment when it dies. The Sun Titan can grab something as well. We lose a heap of life. And are we going to lose anything to Massacre Worm? Yeah, we lose a couple of creatures to that. So that's 4 damage. Oh, of course, the Archon's not in the graveyard, is it? That's in... yeah, that's in his hand. It got bounced. We lose 2 life because the Archon dies again. And then it is draw 4, 5, 6, 7 cards and lose 7 life. So I think we lose 13 life in total this turn. So if we're going to be losing life, we've got double strike. Well, we won't have double strike necessarily next turn, so I'm wondering if to grab Sword of Hearth and Home against a white player could be handy, or the True Conviction. Shall we just assume that we're going to have horsemanship? Can we afford to go for this is the question. Don't think there's many great ETBs with the Sword of Hearth and Home available to us. Now let's just grab the True Conviction. Well, there's the sack outlet. A little bit too late. Could have sacrificed our entire board and have it reanimate straight away to the Living Death. We've got life to gain with Vault of the Archangel as well if we like. Cyclonic Rift buys us time also. But just clearing a bunch of lands off the top for the most part. Core Cartographer has entered play for the white player, so gets a rampant growth with that. Enduring Innocence will trigger for a card draw as well. And Sun Titan, that is pointed at the Gerard's Hourglass Pendant, so we lose all but one of our creatures. The Adeline goes down, Sir Conrad and the Massacre Worm trigger on the death of creatures. We lost one more creature than I thought we were going to there, so we actually lose more life. I didn't account for Sir Conrad either. And that is going to trigger on us casting Hakon and things, so it might be worth the Cyclonic Rift next turn. The Enduring Innocence comes back as an enchantment. Alright, so we end up down at 8. Our opponent draws to Baleful Strix. Avacyn down to 5. Miramad Phantasm activates and shuffles into the library. Then you reveal cards from the top of your library. Until this is revealed, all the other cards go into the graveyard, so they've got some additional cards in their graveyard basically. And that triggers Sir Conrad again. So 4 triggers there. Takes Avacyn down to 1. He does not have a means of swinging in now, so was hoping to take out the Avacyn player there, I imagine. And there we go, he's going to take both of us out seemingly. Sacrifices with the Dread Return, gets rid of 3 creatures, triggering the Sir Conrad. And then when the creature is reanimated with the Dread Return, that will trigger Sir Conrad as well, getting rid of us. So it panned out nicely for our opponent. Grabs himself the Archfiend of Despair, and down we go. So that was a really fun one. Got to see a lot of what we want to do with Sardar Jabari. Got helped out by the mill in the early game. And that's how Esper Night Tribal tends to work. Hopefully you all enjoyed it as well. Please consider donating on Patreon like a few of you do already if you did like the content. Massive thank you to the patrons for their constant support of the channel. And I will see all of you in the next one. I'm tribalkai. Thank you for watching.